Well, hola YouTube, it's my first time in Sevilla, Spain.
Where have you gone? Getting old and it's something to rely on.
I'm only 3 minutes away from my apartment on foot, and I can already tell this place is absolutely jumping. But then again, right here, it may not be a surprise because look. Yeah, my apartment is just minutes away from the cathedral. I only left Córdoba 3 hours ago, and I can already tell this place is a completely different beast. It's wild though, my apartment is actually near a very small and quiet square. There's just one restaurant and one hotel there, a few people hanging out, having something to eat. Not much going on at all. Yeah, and then you turn around 2 corners and boom, you're in the middle of everybody. Okay, you've seen the craziness around the cathedral and the whole Santa Cruz area, and we will dive into more of that later in this video. But for now, I'm being drawn to a different place. Sevilla's bullfighting arena, and apparently there is something going on here later today. Now, so bullfighting is still very much a tradition that's quite alive in many places in Spain, and I don't know how you feel about it. I respect the culture, but it's not for me, so I'm not getting a ticket for that. Yeah, I'm not touching though, but I'm also not going. The Guadalquivir River, I hope I'm saying that right, Spain's only major navigable river connecting Sevilla to the Mediterranean. And on the other side of the river is a neighborhood we will also visit in a little while. In case you were ever wondering what all these sailor's knots are called in Spanish. It's 30 degrees and this is actually quite a good idea. I'm just wandering aimlessly right now. Please bear with me. I will admit, Santa Cruz, the area around the cathedral, can feel a bit much if you're not prepared for all the masses of people there. This, however, is really nice. I'm more impressed by that palm tree than by that monument. Plaza de España, built for the Ibero-American Expo 1929. I can't help but comparing it to Córdoba, where I still was this morning, and which had such a calm and confident vibe. Sevilla is absolutely not like that. Sevilla is a diva, a total diva. Spectacle is everywhere. All right, so much for the first impressions walk. Now it's time to head across the river for dinner. The neighborhood of Triana, food and drink by the river. Also in the 1800s, one of the cradles of flamenco. Okay, I settled down at a place called La Zapata, which is just a simple street-side restaurant and exactly what I need after this day. I checked out a couple other places here, but they all were huge, packed, noisy restaurant with very loud music, and I was having a couple of Detective Roger Murtaugh moments there. Also, I ordered paella, which is weird because A, it's not typical for this region of Spain at all, and B, usually they make it for two people at least. But I asked and they agreed to make one for just me. So let's see how it tastes. This is actually a perfectly decent paella. I'm glad I came here. Well, yep, I enjoyed that. Also, another beer. I gotta say, this dinner experience did something with me. This place just showed me a less theatrical side of the city. When you first arrive in Sevilla, it can be pretty overwhelming because everything is grand and everything is spectacular. and it almost feels like it's designed for that. But places like this with a very lived-in neighborhood rhythm just show you there's more to it. That's something that I really like. Okay, now the table next to me fills up. Talk better. And buenos dias again, YouTube. It's the next morning. Santa Cruz is still quiet at 7:45, but that'll change very soon, I guess. It's not normal for me to go to Starbucks, but I wanted breakfast and I wanted it now. All right, that was breakfast and I should be fully operational now. So let's check out the big one. Right, so the Cathedral of Sevilla, second largest church in Spain after the Cathedral in Córdoba, was actually built in the 1400s at the site of a former mosque. And while the mosque was taken down, the minaret was left standing and became the bell tower of the cathedrals. And today that bell tower is Sevilla's main landmark. Well, I didn't get very far. The cathedral is currently closed and there seems to be some renovation work going on. So change of plans. I didn't have major sightseeing in mind anyway. There is somewhere else I want to go. The city feels much less curated on a Monday morning when people are just going to work, to school, wherever they go. Not the whole touristy circus we saw last afternoon at Santa Cruz. I like it. Also, I think the city is even more beautiful when it doesn't put on a show. All right, let's cross the river again into Triana. So right across the river from the old town, you have the part of Sevilla that's not performing, but just living. There's local commerce, there are cafes, and there's none of the big spectacle. And really, I like this a lot. Triana also has a local market. Let's check it out. I would much rather shop here every day than at my local supermarket at home. I think I'm going to be back to that market for lunch. Gotta say, so far, Triana really is my favorite part of Sevilla. But there's another neighborhood I want to visit later today, so we will see. Triana is charming and apparently known not just as one of the birthplaces of flamenco, but also for its ceramics craft. Historically, Triana was mostly inhabited by workers and sailors, making it quite a rough neighborhood at the time, which then attracted also artists, dancers, singers, and British playwright Richard Ford described it in 1832 as a cave of toreros, smugglers, robbers, and Romani people whose women are excellent dancers. And over time, in the 1800s, a new kind of folk music was born out of this mixture, and it was more rough and aggressive than folk music before, and hence flamenco was born. It's almost 11. I'm calling it time for lunch. Okay, I am back at the market for some manchego cheese and Galician style octopus. This looks delicious. That was delicious, and the market is in full swing now. Okay, it will soon be time to head back to the room for a bit, recharge the batteries. But first, should we risk another look at Santa Cruz? Let's do it. Here we are again, and no, it doesn't seem half as crazy as yesterday. But then it's a Monday after all. All right, time for a break. I will see you in a few hours, and luckily on YouTube, that is just like... And I'm back outside. There's another neighborhood north of the whole Cathedral area that I want to visit. It's striking how many people have their own e-scooters here for getting around town, but there are no shared ones. There are none of those e-scooter companies present here because the city banned them last year, and Madrid did the same the year before that. Both cities gave similar reasons for that too, saying these dogless sharing systems just created too much clutter, and these scooters were like laying around everywhere, causing too much trouble while not being useful enough. Seems people like them enough to buy their own though. And here we are, La Alameda de Hércules, or just Alameda. Now, while this place is now basically, well, a square, a plaza, it was originally a park, and these two columns here are originals from a Roman temple that once stood here. The one on the left shows Hercules, who is the mythological founder of Sevilla, and the one on the right shows Julius Caesar, who is credited for restoring the city during Roman rule. During the 1800s, this neighborhood was the upper class dwelling ground. But then in the 1900s, it fell into kind of a disarray and became known for the use of certain substances, and also for the oldest business in the world, with no less than 35 actual businesses offering that service here. But then, beginning in 2008, the city's government stepped in. They cut down on road traffic, they installed benches and kiosks and fountains, and they also planted new trees along the promenade. Today, not quite 20 years later, this is the nightlife center of Sevilla. We'll come back here later, I guess, but I want to turn a few corners first. That is the Arco de la Macarena, one of the old city gates along the former city wall, and it's just very typical for Sevilla, I guess. I mean, in this city, even the city gates dress to impress. And they don't do normal churches either. I'm back in aimless wandering mode. I have no idea what's around the next corner. Okay, they do the occasional normal church, but it's more an exception than a rule. You can just walk through any random side street here, and it's absolutely gorgeous, with beautiful facades and little cafes, family-friendly places too. So yeah, apart from all the glamour, Sevilla has a lot to live for, really. Okay, I found a place and I will indulge in tapas again. That's a good start, as always. Okay, that is tapas-sized aioli potatoes. So I'm not sure if I will eat my way through all of this if it goes on like that. I ordered 4 different tapas, but let's try it. Okay, before I even could try it, the rest arrived. Well, this is going to be fun. You won't believe it, but I almost made it. Well, you will have to believe it now. All right, my feet and the camera need a break. So I will go back to my room, maybe head out for a nightcap a bit later, but I will see you in the morning. Hola YouTube, first breakfast. So is Spain's greatest diva more than just beautiful? It definitely is. I mean, sure, Sevilla shows off. It dances, sings and shouts. But it just takes turning 2 corners or crossing 1 bridge and you're in a whole different part of the town. That bustling Mercado de Triana, or the neighborhoods of Alameda and Macarena, they feel very much alive and for themselves, not for the tourists. And those are the areas I enjoyed the most, really. So yeah, in the end, Sevilla feels like a city that's both worth visiting and worth living in. All right, I hope you enjoyed spending time with me here, and I hope to see you again at my next destination. Until then, take care.